a Silk live-action television show in the works. We have a Mandolorian Season 2 premiere date and another pressable defect on Comic Book Canon. Welcome to Comic Book Canon. We are here on another Friday. Can you believe it's already Friday? We got lots to talk about. We have Silk live-action TV show, Mandalorian 2 season premiere date, another pressable defect, our boys from Pressable Defect. This time it's Matt Forge. But first, let me bring in my special friend, my co-host, my partner in crime, Chris. How are you, buddy?
Hey, Jeff. How's it going? Glad to see everyone in the comments already. You know, I know it's been a trying week, but I'm glad that we could be here again to, talk comics and, keep everyone positive with some good comic book content.
Yes, indeed. That's what we all share here. That's why we are here. We're here to talk about the hobby we love, the characters, the movies, the comic books, all of it here. And we got to give props to people like Isaac Mander, Kid Collector, B. Schnur, Tom Tormey. Thank you guys so much for being here early, just getting things started up in the comment section. We have the pressable defects actually right now. We have Matt Forge. We got Guy Forge as well. B. Schnur. Oh, man, this is great. This is great. It's going to be a good Friday, is it not, Chris?
I'm ready for it.
We are ready, but we're going to tone it down a little bit because we are going to talk about something that hit us all last week. For us, it hit us live, and it's one of those things I'll never forget where I was. So, Chris, I'm going to have you take this away.
Yeah. For those watching last week, I mean, we got the breaking news about the passing of Chadwick Boseman while we were live. So that was a tough blow for us. It's been a trying week, like I said, and I know we are all kind of impacted by this, and one way or the other. But I wanted to, or Jeff and I wanted to start the show off this week, trying to shed some positive light on this, and it is a story that broke yesterday regarding a statue being put in the works in the Chadwick Boseman's hometown of Anderson, South Carolina. There's been a rally to get the statue built. Now, a spokesperson from the mayor's office of Anderson has already confirmed that the statue is in early stage of development. This was after a petition was started and already garnered over 60,000 signatures as of yesterday morning. Over 60,000. That's amazing. I'm sure, who knows, it's might have even doubled by then. There's already been an artist already put in charge to begin the creative process for this. So, this is just really, really good, humbling news, but bittersweet, obviously. But, this is an individual outside of his works and what he did as a human being, as a humanitarian, to better this world. What better way to recognize him than to, build this statue in his hometown? There's not a lot of details, and I know some of the articles that reported on this spoke of the details of what the artistry will be like. Will it just be a statue? Will there be other artistic elements to this? A memorial type based, situation surrounding the statue itself. We don't know any of those details, but I'm sure, regardless of what the details are going to be, this is going to be something special for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. It's one of those things where I don't know many people that meet Chadwick Boseman. I don't know anybody at all that actually knows him, but it's something that hits us because he played an iconic comic book character that made a difference, made a social impact. And him as this lead, he was on this big screen where people saw him and they could relate to him. They saw a character that previously they weren't able to relate to, and it meant so much to so many people. And that's why a passing like this, not only was he just young, he had so much in front of him, but what he has done, the iconic characters he's played. Let's not forget about Jackie Robinson, Thurgood Marshall, James Brown, but the Black Panther as well. He just made an impact in this world. And I think you said it best with the Tupac line last week, which I'll leave it to you. No doubt.
Yeah. Well, just to touch on that, and this is what, made it really, really a tough situation for us doing this live. Or, we had our guest on And we were talking about, our guest Tom being an educator, and being an educator myself. I was really enjoying what he was stating, and how he used comic books as a tool to provide real solid educational context to these young kids. And while I was interviewing him, I had in the back of my head this Tupac quote that I've lived by my whole life. That quote is, "I'm not saying I'm going to change the world, but I will spark the brain. But I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world." And I was sitting with that quote, waiting to dive into it. And before I could say it, we got this news. And just to dive in a little bit more about that quote speaks to how we have to be that flame, that match that sparks the change that would come into this world, usually for our youth. And that's why I thought it was imperative to bring up there, because we're talking about educating our youth in these next generations. Ironically enough, and I recommend everyone to go watch Chadwick Boseman's commencement speech that he delivered in 2018 at his alma mater, Howard University. In that speech, Chadwick Boseman said, quote, "Everything that you fought for was not for yourself, but for those who come after." And I was looking at that quote of Tupac's, and they're basically saying the exact same thing, but in a different way and in different words. And I think it's fitting for us to, bringing up this way to, remember him and pay tribute to him with this statue. I like to bring up these quotes, and this quote by Chadwick himself, and how, that's why this affects me so much. And for many of you that don't know, Tupac was somebody that changed my life through his words and his music and what he left behind. And obviously he passed at such a young age. This is another situation, again, that I feel that we all can take from this man. And hopefully, unfortunately through his passing, but hopefully that can allow us to get to know the man better, and to listen to the words that he left behind, because they are truly jewels that we can take, that we can carry on within ourselves, to continue to spark those that come after us, to continue to spark those brains that will change the world. And I'll leave it at that, because I think it speaks volumes to who this man was. Outside of the films, it speaks to the roles that he just chose to play. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be different for all of us, especially that have kids like you and I, Jeff. Anytime that we watch him in his films, and every time that we watch T'Challa on screen, we can have this deeper appreciation now, even more than ever. And hopefully we can continue to pass it down to our children.
Absolutely. He's left his mark on this world. And I think the what he gave to his craft, we should all be grateful that we got to share in that. So we'll leave it at that. We will move on to there's no perfect segue here because it is a sad moment. Still, it's a week out, but we will move on to more news here, where we got word this week that there will be a Silk live-action television show. It's in development currently right now. Variety reported that Phil Lord and Chris Miller will be producing this. They were the producers on Into the Spider-Verse, the Academy Award-winning film that I think most comic book fans are really into. I loved it. Lauren Moon, Good Trouble. She wrote Good Trouble and Atypical. Will write. This series may land on Amazon. So it's still to be determined if this is going to be something that could work its way into the MCU or Sony Marvel universe, but it's an interesting character. She's an amazing character, actually, because the idea of her being integrated into Spider-Man canon, she was there from the beginning. She actually got bit by that same radioactive bug. It's something that is completely plausible, and it's something that we can absolutely see happening. And I personally am excited to see this character on the big screen. But as I always say, I want it to be integrated into the Marvel universe, into the MCU. So that's my thought on this. I'm super psyched. Again, you and I say this every week. We are all on board with these things. We are all behind these things. We root for these comic book properties to do well because it'll only grow these universes. So it's going to be interesting to see what approach they take, Chris.
Yeah, this is probably new, uncharted territories for Sony dealing with their Spider-Man properties. We just got the announcement of the live-action feature film that is under Marvel Studios control, but that's being partnered with Amy Pascal. And, you know, we are assumptively stating it to be a Spider-Woman film. So we know that there's that element going on, but now we have this element. And I know there was more outlets that were talking about this going beyond Silk when it comes to some kind of partnership with Amazon. So when you look at what, you know, Disney is doing with Disney Plus, what Disney might be doing with their now owned property Hulu, Sony can really work something in with Amazon to make this work for themselves while still having the ability to, kind of like what you hinted at, bring these things into the Sony Spider-Verse that will then fall into play and connect with the MCU some way. But the thing that's, I think, most unknown right now, and we're probably going to have to wait for Venom 2, and we're probably going to have to wait for Spider-Man 3 to where we see how is this going to be woven in. How is Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Tom Hardy's Venom going to be woven in? Once we see that, I think we're going to get a better understanding on how these side properties with Sony might be able to make the way in the MCU as well. But I think the door is absolutely open. And lastly, to this point, I do believe that it's probably in Sony's best interest to continue to have Kevin Feige, at least, if nothing else, give his peace of mind to every single feature, whether it's straight to the cinemas or whether it's a live action series. Give his peace of mind to that development process, just so there is some kind of understanding of aesthetic, understanding of that certain type of quality, to when Sony decides to bring it over to the MCU, it will work.
I think this partnership is still kind of evolving, even though it's been, like 5 years at this point. I think it's still evolving, and I think there are ways for them to make this work where it's not necessarily like in your face, this is in the MCU, but it is in the MCU. You know what I mean? I think there are ways to do that. I would love to see that. I would prefer to see that, and I guarantee you a majority of comic book fans would as well, except for Tom Tormey, who said he would like to see that live on its own, a Cindy Moon Silk property. Actually, he did say that. Let me find that here. I'd prefer if it stood alone from the MCU and was directly connected to the Sony universe of Marvel characters. Now, Tom, those characters are potentially making their way, based off of the Morbius trailer, are potentially tied into the MCU, which, again, I personally would love. I can't speak for all you people out here. Please let us know in the comments. We'll talk about that later in the show.
Right.
However, continuing on this topic here, the two books you kind of want to look out for at this point are Amazing Spider-Man #1, which is sorry about that, guys, which I believe is a cameo. Of Cindy Moon. And then there's Amazing Spider-Man #4, which tells her history, and it's the first appearance of Silk, a.k.a. Cindy Moon. So, these books are only going to get hotter, guys. They are only going to get hotter. So if you could jump on these right now at an affordable price, or ones that you think are worthwhile in purchasing, I would strongly recommend them, because a character like Silk is the future of the Marvel universe, whether it be comic books and hopefully on screen. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris. Tell me what you think there.
Absolutely. She's in that lineup of the next generation of characters. And in terms of working her into these films, and look, and you hinted at it too. This is something where Sony, their partnership with Marvel Studios is still growing, evolving, I would say. And Sony really did Venom, on its own, and it was a success. So Sony is actually in a very good place right now, because I think they're confident enough to know that they can keep all their properties to where you can see them as existing in their own Spider-Verse. And it is. But why not have that be able to have the potential or the ability at some point in time, even if it's 5-6 years down the road with a specific character, to be able to then cross over? And I think that's what Marvel and Sony are doing. It's like, well, look, like, I'm right here, and I'm Sony, right? And then Marvel Studios is over there. All I got to do is open up the door and go knock and say, hey, how's it going, neighbor? Type of a thing, right? Where you exist in your own household. You're fine. you're keeping the lights on, you're paying your bills, you're cooking your good meals. But why not bring a casserole over once in a while to share with the neighbors or something like that? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's that simple. It's got to be that simple with those properties. Anyways, but this is exciting news. It's interesting news. Again, we are thirsting for any kind of Marvel news at this point because they didn't have a fandom type event. So hopefully we'll get more as we progress towards the fall and maybe the opening of Black Widow. But speaking of news and something to be excited about, that is in the Disney Plus world. Chris, take it away, please.
Yes. We have been so dry with any new releases on Disney Plus. We finally got an announcement of an official release date for Mandalorian Season 2. The premiere date is set for October 30th. So finally, here we go. We got our first look. Look at that. Just beautiful. Look at that landscape. Oh my gosh. I'm just sitting here looking at this for a minute before I continue because, oh man, hey, we've been so thirsty that just this image alone is like mouth-watering, right? So, but yes, so it's been confirmed, Season 2 for October 30th, you know, with the pushback of Falcon and Winter Soldier. You know, I think even if you're not a huge Star Wars fan and you're a big Marvel guy, I hope this can do something for you as well. It's a great show overall, and I'm excited for it. The two big things that any Star Wars fan, whether diehard or casual, are probably looking forward to is obviously we had the announcement of Boba Fett and then Ahsoka Tano. And once we see these characters, and of course Ahsoka's character was reportedly being played by Rosario Dawson. So we've already been sitting with this hype for a while now. If we get a trailer and those characters show up, or when we finally see them on screen, wow. You know, that's going to be like some of the biggest news of this year when it comes to really any of these Disney properties.
Definitely. And these are the books you're going to want to look out for. I mean, they're already hot and pretty much unattainable to most people. But, you know, Star Wars number 42 is the first appearance of Boba Fett. And Star Wars The Clone Wars is the first appearance of Ahsoka Tano. So those are the two that, like, right now, they're like, I think the Star Wars 42 is more attainable than the Clone Wars. But,
yeah, ironically.
Exactly. But, I mean, now's the time. If you think these are gonna jump any further, they will once we see a trailer and once we get into the regular series. Because you know, there's rumors that there's gonna be a Boba Fett series. There's rumors that there's gonna be a Ahsoka Tano series. So jump on these now if you can afford it. And Chris, I think you got something to show everybody here.
Yeah, guys, this book. So just give a little backstory. If you guys try looking for this book, it's going to be, not only is it going to be very, very expensive, but it's going to be hard to attain. And the history about this is that, first off, it's got one of the lowest print runs, and I don't have the exact number off the top of my head. It's got one of the lowest print runs of any modern book. This book was released in 2008. But get this, guys. If there's a book that says, I don't know if you guys could see that very well, but it says right there, Star Wars Universe. I know you guys can't see it too well, but believe me, it's there. It says Star Wars Universe. And the Star Wars Universe print over the barcode, or next to the barcode, is the newsstand. Now, the story behind the newsstand is that with an already very low print run of direct copies, the newsstand is extremely smaller or lower print than the direct. And these newsstands were released only to your retailers like your Barnes and Nobles and Borders was still there back then. So basically, to find these newsstands in a high grade is extremely, extremely rare. I saw, and it's going to be rare that any of these books are going to be out there to even be found. Yeah. Last week, one finally popped up on eBay, a newsstand. It was, I wouldn't say it was better than a 4.0. It sold for over $700.
A 4.0?
And about a 4. My guesstimate is a 4.0. At best, maybe with the press, 4.5. It was a low mid-grade, low grade book. It was beat up. The spine was all beat up. It had color breaks all through it. I had the pictures of it in my phone, but it was really beat up. It sold for about $730. So yeah, and for your directs, you know, your high grades are definitely pushing over $1,000 right now raw. So to get this newsstand, my newsstand, I'm going to call a very fine near mint, minus, somewhere around there. It's got a couple of deep color breaking ticks, but yeah, I had a guy. I won't go too deep into this because we got to get further on with the news. But I had a guy about a month ago reach out to me saying, "I'll offer you $300 for it." And this guy was a claim seller on eBay, Instagram, did live claim sales or bidding sales. And I said, "No, I'm good because I know you're just gonna turn around and put it on your live stream and sell it for like at least half that at that point." So fun story. But guys, yeah, it's if you're in the hunt, you're ready to break some pockets, but you gotta be sniping these things like every single day.
You better, yeah. I mean, you have a very finite amount of time to jump on this right now if you can afford it at this point. Like those are expensive right now. So, anyways, super excited about Mandalorian season 2. Just get ready for a trailer. It will be coming in the next couple of weeks. It has to be coming. Chris, we are less than 2 months away from season 2.
Yeah. Yes.
We'll have some content. I can't wait. All right. But speaking of content, you guys got to stick with me here, okay? Because I'm going to talk about Mulan. I'm going to talk about Mulan. I'm going to get into the Rotten Tomatoes score because Mulan, as we all know, came out today on Disney+, all right? So stick with me again. I know, not quite comic book content, kind of, you know, in the genre of what we do here. So the Mulan Rotten Tomatoes score, guys, we're looking at an 80% on the tomato meter. This was earlier this afternoon with an audience score of 48%. We'll get into why that could be a very low score. But this is important because people are going to look at this, the Rotten Tomato. It's certified fresh. They're going to want to rent this on Disney+. Now, if this happens, if we see a spike, if we see people interested in paying $30 to rent Mulan, because that could potentially open up some doors. Am I right, Chris? By the doors I'm talking about, what am I talking about? What am I talking about, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, and I know probably you and I are being hopeful for this just because we want to see it in any possible way. But, you know, looking at what they're going to do with Black Widow, I mean, again, I'm probably going to be sitting paying the $30 this evening with my family, popping some popcorn and watching this thing. So I'm going to support it. And we're being hopeful that we can get the support for this film so we can get Black Widow on video on demand.
Black Widow.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I don't know about you, Jeff, but here's the thing. Now we've seen that there are theaters opening to limited capacity in limited areas around the states right now. With that, we have drive-ins, right? The drive-ins are coming back, guys. So you have these two elements, right? And you have Black Widow still set for a November release date. So even with the success of Mulan, if it's there, if the success comes in, and this $30 price point really speaks to the audience for the video on demand, do we feel that Disney and Marvel is going to still take that chance? Or do we feel that there's some kind of hybrid where there's no early release date? It's still, Black Widow's still at that November release date. It releases on that date in the select theaters that are open, at the drive-ins that are open, but then we get a video on demand release date maybe 2 weeks later. And that's like nationwide or North America wide or whatever the case may be. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of seeing maybe there's a type of a balance there that they can still work with still trying to get the bang for the buck with the movie theaters that are open.
Yeah, all eyes are going to be on this. All eyes are going to be on this to see what the results are, because it is an interesting way to go about things. I mean, here we are in November. This thing was supposed to come out April or May. I don't even remember when. They have to start recouping some money here. So it's going to be interesting to see what the results are. I will personally pay for Mulan $30. Even though this is going to come out on Disney Plus December 4th, I will personally pay for this for 2 reasons. I want to see this film. It looks incredible. The trailers look incredible. And I want to be able to vote with my wallet to be able to get Black Widow in the same scenario. A lot of you are saying in the comments you will not pay $30 for Mulan. Will you pay $30 to see Black Widow if it came out today in similar fashion? Tell us right now in the comment section. Yep. Will you do that? I would absolutely do that in a heartbeat. No doubt in my mind. We are thirsting for this stuff, guys. We are thirsting for Marvel. And again, you guys want all of this to succeed because you at least want the option to be able to see Black Widow or any MCU film for that matter, because who knows how long this is going to last. I don't care, Chris, if these drive-ins are open. Winter's coming on the East Coast, okay? In the north regions of this country here, specifically. I know we have a few global viewers here, but specifically. So it's going to be hard to see those things in a drive-in theater. So would love to hear what you guys think. Would you pay $30 to see Black Widow right now? That's the question.
I think I said a couple weeks ago, I would literally pay like $50 right now, to see Black Widow. Screw the 30, I'd go 50 because that's how much I'm paying in the theaters anyways. I get to make my own popcorn for like about $1 a bag next to like $20 for a big thing. It's still good popcorn. And I know, look, I understand it's not the same experience. It's not going to be the same for everyone, but that's how bad I want to see this movie right now for sure. But I'll tell you one thing before we go to some people's answers. I don't think that Disney has the option of pushing Black Widow back any farther. They're not.
Yeah, no, I mean, here we are. Who knows what's going to happen? I really don't. It's November right now is when it's scheduled to come out. I personally don't feel comfortable going to a theater right now. Even if it's a 50% capacity. I really don't. I have trouble going to an outdoor restaurant, which is going to be shut down soon again because we're heading towards winter. We're in fall, basically in fall right now. So it's going to be, again, this is going to be a pivotal moment in terms of release of films in general. All eyes are on this tonight. We're going to see what the results are going to be in like a week when they release the box office numbers. Yep. We'll see what happens. I do want to get to these. I do want to get to these comments. Tom Tormey says there's no way he's going to pay $30 for Black Widow. I love Guy's response here. Damn fucking straight I will. I'm with you right there. Schnurr, I'll pay for both. Don't you own it after anyway? Kind of, because it'll be on Disney Plus anyways afterwards. But you have 3 months to watch it however you want, whenever you want. Don the Comic Book Junkie, no way. Matt Forge, who you guys will all see on camera very shortly, by the way, from Pressable Defects. Matt Forge, I pay $50 to watch Black Widow at this point. That's what you say,
too. Chris. There you go.
That's how much it costs to take 2 people to the movies anyways.
Yep.
You're paying at least $15 for ticket, depending on what region you're in. You're paying at least $15 for your beverages or what have you. Yep. Absolutely. 100%. Kid collector.
Let me just before you keep going on, Jeff, that's I just said 50 myself. And I don't know, Matt, who you have. Like, I understand we got to look at household too. We might have some single individuals. They live alone or, they don't have kids, and I think, at least for me, when I'm saying I would pay 50 for Black Widow, I'm thinking of the fact that I have a household of 4. I got my 2 kids here and I could easily go down to a 7-Eleven, grab some slushies for like $1 each that you would normally pay, like $8 for in the movie theater, pop some popcorn. And I'm happy with that. I understand that it's probably different for people that don't have kids or those bigger families, though.
I mean, I'm not going to watch Black Widow with my 4-year-old daughter, but I will watch it by myself for $50, and have the option to watch it as many times as I want to. Dude, like absolutely, like 100%. Kid collector, absolutely, I would pay for Mulan and Black Widow in a heartbeat. That could be $80 if we're talking about these price points right now, right? Mike Sears, not a chance. He would rather watch paint dry. Mike Sears, we're going to get back to you later in the show to see if there's anything you have positive to say about anything, but we'll hold off for a sec. Don the Comic Book Jumpy, he'll wait for Blu-ray. Fair enough. There's a lot of people. I would say a lot of I would not pay $30 for a movie. Collecting Chaos. A lot of people have opinions on this. It's all over the place, actually. I would say it's about 50.
It is.
Interesting. I'm surprised. Sure I thought more people would be like, absolutely, we're paying, this much money. Anyway, so if you guys want Black Widow, go see Mulan. Go rent it. Okay, that's all we have to say. That's all for the news this week. Because we have to move on. We have a very special guest, and we pre-recorded this because of busy schedules and those kinds of things. But we do a segment here each week. Not each week. Once a month, called Props or Slops. Basically, we give a friend of the community the opportunity to give us props on something recent that's happening within the comic book industry, some praise that you have to give, or slops. Slops is like anything that's happening recently in the comic book industry or the pop culture industry that you just want to completely dog and just kind of trash. So we are very happy to have Matt Forge from Pressable Defects. We had Jay DeButcha a couple weeks ago giving us his all-in. We got Matt Forge giving us his props or slops. And it's a very interesting subject, Chris, that I would like you to tee up because it's kind of like something you're really kind of investigating these days.
Yeah. So Matt Forge touched on it, and that's the idea of what's going on with the hype of the second, third, and fourth prints. So before we're going to give our opinions, but we're going to go into what Matt Forge had to say. This is a topic that is very man. How do I say that? It's got a lot of tentacles coming out from it. I mean, it's deep, muddy waters, so to say. But Jeff, should we let them see what Matt Forge had to say?
We're going to roll the tape. Matt has an opinion, and we all want you to hear it. Here we go. Props or slops?
All right, Chris and Jeff. So props or slops, in true Pressable Defects form, I'm going to go slops, okay? And what do I have to talk about? What's really been ticking me off lately, and this goes out to the publishers and to the comic book collectors, is how second, third, fourth, fifth, 29th prints have now become more valuable than the first print. I just don't understand it. How did we get to this point? And, I understand in certain circumstances where that's a valid thing. There are a few examples where that makes sense. One that comes to mind is the Captain Marvel 17, which is, like the second cameo of Kamala Khan. That second print, the first print was pretty low print run, and the second print was pretty scarce, and it wasn't hot right away. This was years ago, so people weren't so into that grab every issue like they are today because they're afraid to miss something. But that cover was at least an original cover, right? Now what they do is they're just recycling an interior page, throwing it on the cover, and now all of a sudden Venom 3 third print is first cover appearance of Null. It's an interior page. At least make it an original art right on the cover. Then maybe it's valuable. Now it's something you haven't seen before, not just a recycled page. I mean, the publishers, that's what they're there for. They're there to make money. I get it. So anytime they're going to have the opportunity to make money, like put a second printing out, there's a lot of people buying it. Put a third printing out, a lot of people are buying it. I get it. That's their job. They have shareholders. They're only there really to make money at the end of the day. But us as collectors, if we keep buying them, they're going to keep making them. So we got to look in the mirror and say, should we keep buying these second, third, fourth, fifth prints? I mean, there's a second print with a ratio variant, for God's sakes, in Venom. It makes no sense. So if we keep buying them, they're going to keep printing them, and now it's starting to trickle down. It's not only new books, but it's going back to previous books. And I'll go back to the Kamala Khan reference, all new Marvel .1. The first print and the second print, they were always pretty even. The second print was just a tad bit lower than that first print. Now, all of a sudden, a 9/8 second print is going for almost double what the first print is going for. And it's a trickle-down effect. So you're being rewarded now for being late to the party, for missing that book on New Comic Book Day where all of a sudden it's boom, this new character came out. And you have to get it, the 3 or 4 weeks later when they release that second print. And it's kind of like sloppy seconds. And everybody knew that, you were late to the party. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, holy shit, I was late to party. And now my book is worth almost double what the first print was worth. That kills me. I think it's just a bad way for the community to be going right now because it's just a straight money grab. There's nothing else to it. There are very rare circumstances where I understand where that second print can be very valuable. If the series was a slow series to begin with, if that first print was a low number to begin with, and then all of a sudden the second print, which, they shouldn't even have probably printed and no one really grabbed it, I understand that. But a series like Venom, everybody's grabbing it. A series like Thor, everyone's grabbing it. So why are these second, third, and fourth, and fifth prints even more expensive than the first? It makes no sense. So comic book community, we got to be better than that. And Chris and Jeff, that's my slop for Props or Slops, and I really appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to come on Comic Book Canon and vent this because it fucking pisses me off.
So happy he came on. That's definitely a topic of interest to all of us here, right? But first of all, before we get into this topic, I see some opinions in the comments already. Y'all need to be following Pressable Defects in the comments below, or in the description below. There's a link to Pressable Defects. They're gonna hit their 1,000 subs mark soon. Their 500 subs mark. Their giveaways were insane. So if it's anything at least similar to that or above that, you guys will want to be following because their giveaway will be amazing. Anyways, so Chris, let's get into it right now, man. Slops. Matt, slops on multiple prints here and grabbing, because it's a cop. It's just it's lazy. Grabbing cover art or grabbing interior art, putting on the cover. Here's the second print. Third print, fourth print, fifth print.
Yeah, so much there that I took notes. Because there's so many ways to attack this. First off, to Matt's in his defense, I think he brought a lot of things up that I agree with in terms of how I collect. I have never, I don't grow. I was just talking about this in the pre-show on my channel, showing off some of the variants that I bought of the new books. Like these are the cover B variants that are cover price. Right? And I go with the variant if I like the art better than the cover A. I don't buy it because of some other hype. It's just because I like that book better. So if I'm buying variants, it's simply because I enjoy the art. It's not for any other reason. So I'm not one that goes after second prints, third prints for some speculative value just because they have a different cover on them or whatever the case may be. But there's a lot of different ways to look at this. And I think the key way to look at this for us as collectors is to understand what this means for the hobby as a business and as an industry. One, I like what Matt said about publishers versus collectors. This is not, you can't put blame and say, I don't like that this is happening. Publishers, why are you doing this? Well, to Matt's point, the collectors are speaking with their purchasing power. They're going to do whatever they feel is going to make them money. And at the end of the day, even if it's a money grab, what are companies like Marvel and DC and Image supposed to do? Make money. Sell books. How many books are they supposed to sell? As many books as they possibly can because they're a business and that's what they're here to do. And the more books they sell, honestly, the better it is for us as collectors because it keeps the hobby healthy. All right. Let me say one thing too, what I feel the industry has grown and evolved from that they're not doing right now, that where it could be worse, and that's printing 5 to 8 million copies of a first print. So let's just acknowledge and say, well, I'm glad that they're not doing that anymore. I'm glad that they're doing second and third and fourth prints and not doing millions of copies of a first print, because then we'd be back in the 90s and our books would be worthless. There it is, right? But let's dive into this a little further. Matt talked about them taking interior pages of a first appearance on, say, issue number 3 is the first appearance of X. And then that character doesn't show up on a cover, but 2 months later, 2 months later, the character's been in the books, but 2 months later, they decide to release a variant issue of that same issue number 3, that's a first appearance, and take interior work out of that and make a third print variant of it and now call that the first cover appearance. That's a bit lazy. So to Matt's point, why not? Look, variants are very popular right now. They've been popular for years now, and I don't think the hype on variants is going away anytime soon. Why not just get an artist to do a fresh variant cover, even if it's a second and third print of a specific issue? That way, at least you have something that's new, that's fresh, and you're not just being lazy, like you said. So I give them credit for that there. I'm going to talk about burnout. And this is the biggest issue that I think where Matt's frustration on this where he can have a valid point, and that's burnout. Remember Beanie Babies. Remember Trolls. You get these things to where people start flocking into these things because they think that there's going to be one thing there and one thing only, and that's some type of value. Now, regardless if they're mass marketed or not, people get caught up on print runs for comic books. It's not just about print run. It's about what's available on the market. There could be a book that has a print run of 200 and nobody wants the book. Just because it's a print run of 200 doesn't mean it's going to be valuable. Nobody's going to be able to sell it for 2 pennies if nobody wants it. So when you look at something like this, where they are now saying, let's do a second print and a third print and a fourth print and change the cover art, get some interior cover, call it a first cover appearance and all this stuff. And if the reason why they're going up in value right now is simply because people are jumping on them because they think it's going to make them get rich, the negative thing that could come out of that is a year from now, all these people that spent all this money, and remember, they're not just spending cover price. You have books that came out a couple weeks ago that are selling for $50, $100, $200. And if they're spending that money now, in a year from now, that threshold doesn't hold up and people get burnt out, then you're going to have books sitting there and nobody wanting to buy into this, not the hobby as a whole, but into this piece of the hobby, and the value of these books are going to decrease. Now, I do have one more point, but Jeff, did you want to jump in there?
There's a lot of opinions in the comments here. I'd love to share them. No, finish your point. Definitely.
Okay, so
you are on a roll, and
right. So,
valid points here, man.
Okay, so two final things here. I will say though, you have to be humble to the reason why these books aren't getting to become more expensive as a second or third print just because of somebody lying to us or publishers lying to us. Look, it's all marketing, it's all advertising and whatnot. They're trying to make money. The reason why the prices are increasing is because, like Matt says, we're buying them still. So if we want to set the tone of what's valuable and what's not, it's going to be up to what we do with our purchasing power. So we can't get mad necessarily the fact that the second and third prints are more valuable, but we can dissect the reason why this is happening and have valid concerns. Here's my final point. My final point is this. Matt brought up the Marvel point one, and this is where I disagree with that being used as an example, but I still understand where he's coming from. I think the Marvel point one second print being worth going for more than the first now is kind of more of a natural supply and demand market impact. And I say that because of this. Like Matt said, that book is some years old now. It's like, what, 5, 6 years old? So what happened was the first print starts increasing in value and it becomes unattainable to a certain extent. People start going after the second printing. And once people start going after the second printing, they realize that that second printing has a lower print run. So now that the demand is going up and the supply is going down, the rarity is smaller than the first printing as well. So that's more of a natural effect of that second printing value being more than the first. So I actually think the Marvel point one second printing value being more than the first is more of an organic, natural example of where it's healthy for a second printing to become more valuable than the first. They didn't do any gimmicks with the cover. They just called it a second printing and changed the bar to blue instead of red, to where, like I said, right now, you have these books right now coming straight off the press, and people are buying into the hype of it, not knowing if that demand is going to last long term. That's where it can be questionable. That's where we can be walking on eggshells here if we are those collectors right now that are investing in money. So I'm going to close out by saying this. If you guys are collectors and you're hopping on the hype train of these second and third and fourth prints merely because you think that they're going to be worth more value than the first, that's what's going to skew the value of these books in the long term, and you're probably going to sell yourself short.
Yeah, I mean, you always deliver. By the way, Chris delivers way better than I ever can, but we are always aligned, which sucks because sometimes we don't get that button ahead, which we need to be doing more of. But Dave in the Cave, 3 Men in the Basement, great channel, guys. You should be following them as well. Key Collector, that's why. That's right, I said it. That's a very good point, man. It's does FOMO kind of fall into that? Like the FOMO, it creates the FOMO, fear of missing out. I have to believe it does. I believe that those key collectors, or even Cover Price, which I think is a great tool, I think that kind of lends to FOMO as well. But it's following market trends at the same time too. So that's kind of interesting as well. We got many comments here that I am not even ready for. I'm sorry. Here we go. Mike Sears, I personally do not believe you can get rich buying modern comics. I agree with that 100%. People aren't trying to get rich. They're trying to flip comics to either buy more comics or just make a little extra cash. Here's the thing. Back in the 90s, people thought that they'd be able to put their kids through comics by buying X-Men 1 or The Death of Superman. No. This is not what's happening here. But a lot of people go about this, that the hobby should pay for itself. And this is how they play the game, right? By flipping these books. So it is more than that. I don't think anybody here thinks that they're going to pick up, the first appearance of Kamala Khan and be set for life. Not happening. But there is something to be said about being able to make a little extra cash to support your hobby. So those are things that you need, that we all think about. So anyways, Dave the Cave, yeah, big difference between Cover Price and Key Collector though. Cover Price is based on actual data. Yes, 100% actual data. But I'm not questioning Key Collector when I say this, but let's think about the FOMO factor fueling the people buying the stuff, which is fueling the data. I just want to kind of think about that whole thing, because Key Collector factors into that FOMO, which forces, which has people buying stuff. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just trying to think things through in that way. So, Isaac Maynard, well, hey Jeff, you're probably happy because you have those books off at CGC right now, so good for you. That's true. I do have the Marvel .1s. I believe in Kamala Khan. Yes, that's quite true. What else do we got? So many. Tom Tormey had something to say here. Collecting Chaos, they've been going back to print almost since comics were first released. It's a reality only in the last 30 years that they have started to push the idea that it's a new print run. And that's true, because you would have the same colors, you'd have the same covers, but they were gold. Do you remember those, Chris? I think back in the 90s.
Or silver.
Or silver, yeah. New
Right,
Warriors,
right.
I remember being reprinted.
Gold, yep.
There was
New Mutants 87 was gold.
The glow in the dark Ghost Rider number 15, I believe it was.
Oh yeah,
that was a gold cover too.
And then ASM 361 was the silver second printing, and the first appearance of Morbius, that was the second print, was released in the 90s. 20 years later was a silver, same cover, just a silver background.
Yeah, absolutely. Tom Tormey, I'm out of my league here, but I'll say slop. First printing should be inherently more valuable. I agree, but people look at the print runs, people look at the cover art, people look at like something that they feel like is, that they have to get before everybody else. So it fuels those things. So anyways, so yeah, there's a lot to say here, but I think, I don't know. You want to close this out, Chris, before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, I would just like to say, and I saw Don mention this in the comments, and I say this all the time.
Let me bring that up. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Don, collect what you like and don't worry about the next guy who collects different prints. Pretty simple. And it should be that simple. I agree with that.
Look,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to be scrolling through all of these comments.
Right. And here's the thing. I did a what was my video on? I don't know. I did a video addressing an issue with second and third prints. It had nothing to do with the context that Matt brought up today, or anything that we talked about here. Was completely something different. But somebody left a comment. I saw it this morning, discussing how I wish I had it here. What did he say? Because they were saying that the true reason why you collect a book should be because of the love of the hobby or whatever, and they were getting mad at second and third printings being worth more, I believe. And then I kind of came back and said, well, now you're kind of being a hypocrite, because if you're in it simply for the love of reading the book, then why are you mad that your book isn't holding as much value? So, and I know I butchered that, and I know it wasn't exactly how it was, but I have a real trouble with a lot of the negative aspects of what's going on right now. It's because it's a very gimme, me type of attitude that people are taking when it comes to the hobby, because so many people basically fake the funk. And when I say they fake the funk, I mean they act like they don't care about the value of comics, but they do. I don't know how many. I'm in tons of social media, Facebook forums and whatnot, and Facebook, Instagram, whatever it may be. And I don't know how many people come on there and say, "Hey guys, I'm looking for Venom 3 third appearance, and I want it for a reasonable price because I know it's getting hot right now, but I just want it to complete my run." And I'm like, dude, no, you don't. And what's the reasonable price? A reasonable price is what it's selling right now, because that's what the market's demanding, right? So I'm seeing so much of this right now where it's like, dude, just stop faking the funk. If you were reading that series, you would have had it on your pull list. You would have had it in your previews list. You would have been there on that Wednesday at Comic Book Day. You would have picked up the book for $3.99. And now, like a month later, or a year later, or 2 years later, you want it for a reasonable price because you're mad. It's not. It's out of your budget range, and you didn't freaking you FOMO'd, right? You FOMO'd on it. So my issue is this. I think it's healthy right now that publishers are getting creative to keep bringing money in. I also think that they're doing it in a way that is definitely different than the 90s. I think we've evolved from the 90s, right? But I do understand how a lot of this can seem gimmicky. And I do understand that I think they need to take a different approach for some. And now I'm just speaking as a collector. Like I said, I agree with the laziness of trying to take some inner art and make it a second print variant, and that's crap. I agree that the second and third and fourth prints that are being printed just to change a cover or change something different about it, it's like, I get that, and it turns me off as a collector. But the biggest thing to take away from this that'll have a negative impact on the hobby, and I think this goes to Matt's point, it goes to the reason of why we as collectors are buying these books. And it has to be that. If you're buying books because you simply just like the cover or you want to read that book, you're most likely are going to buy the book before it is blowing out, before the cost and the value is sky rising. And then if you didn't buy the book, you probably shouldn't be upset that you didn't get the book, because it meant that it just didn't speak to you and it has nothing to do with the value of the book. But if you're buying books simply because you want to speculate on books, because you want to flip books, because you want to not miss out on those books that you think are going to have value, you have to understand that everything you're doing is a risk. Just like when you play the stock market, or just like when you go to Reno or Las Vegas and you know that you're going there with a certain amount of money in your pocket or in your bank account. And if you go there and you play that slot machine, or you play that poker table or whatever, the blackjack table, and you come out with no money in your pocket, or you come out with twice as much money in your pocket, you better be just as content either way. Because if you're putting that money down on that table or in that comic book slot machine, and you're coming out with less money in your pocket and you're mad about it, that's what's going to hurt the comic book industry, because everyone's going to get burnt out. They're going to stop putting the money into it. And then we're going to be in a situation that I don't think it's going to be like the 90s, but it's going to hurt other collectors that are more conscientious of what they're doing and they accept the risk. So if you aren't willing to accept the risk and investing on all these different kind of money grabs, then you shouldn't be doing it in the first place.
Well said. And that's where we're going to end. Props or slops tonight. Matt Forge, thank you so much for being with us. Guys, you need to follow Pressable Defects. The link is in the description below. Do it now. Get them to 1,000 subs because they will have an amazing giveaway, I guarantee. Actually, they haven't said that they would. I guess I'm kind of putting them on the spot. You guys are going to expect that now. But absolutely follow those guys right now. They're great guys. They're fun. The stuff they cover, the stuff they talk about, 100%. Everybody in the comments here watching us today will be interested in what they're watching. So, moving on, before we get to our top 10 hottest comic books of the week, speaking of fueling the fire and all that stuff, we got to talk about it based off of cover prices data, true data. I do want to bring something up, Chris, that literally I was working on while you were talking here. Something cool came up. There is a near mint September 8th Instagram account. They want to make September the 8th, a 9.8 day, something for the comic book community. I thought this was pretty cool. Chris thought it was pretty cool. Just wanted to mention it. Give these guys a follow. Let's see what they're going to do. It sounds kind of cool. Maybe we can get a little buzz in the industry, and it could be a special day for the industry. Once again, near underscore mint underscore September underscore 8th, hashtag NM September 8th, 9.8. Let's give it a try, guys. See what you think. I don't know. Pretty cool. All right, but moving on, we are going to move on to our cover price top 10 hottest comics of the week based off of cover prices data. Once again, we cover this each week. We do it a little bit differently where we take the top 10 hottest comic books of the week. This comes out on Monday from Cover Price. We're a Friday show. We like to dissect things here and there. We're going to do it a little bit differently this week because we have some things to say about these books that are on the list. But first, we will take a look at the list and what we have here. So at number 10, we have Black Panther number 2, the first appearance of Shuri. Number 9 is Batman Damned, number 1. Number 8 is Dark Knight's Death Metal, Legends of the Dark Knight. Number 1, the first appearance of Robin King. This has been peeking its head here and there the past few weeks. Batman, number 7 is Batman 3 Jokers, number 1. The Fabric Black and White 1 in 100 variant. Number 6 is Spider-Man Noir. Number 3, the O'Keefe 1 in 25 variant. Number 5 is Black Panther number 1, a classic from Kirby. Number 4 is Spawn, number 309, the McFarlane variant. Number 3 is Spawn number 309, cover A. And number 2 is Superman number 4, the first appearance of Bloodsport. We all saw that in DC Fandom, where that's who Idris Elba will be playing. And number 1 is Batman 3 Jokers, the Fabok 1 in 25 variant. I do like that cover myself. Chris, so we got some things to talk about here, right? We have some things to talk about this top 10. We are not going to be dissecting 3 of these books. We are going to have a little bit of a discussion as to some of these books that have made the top 10.
Yeah, I was sitting looking at this list and just trying to pick my top 3 to talk about, and I couldn't. I couldn't pick a book. I see Black Panther number 2 in the first appearance of Shuri, and then of course the original volume 1 number 1 up there. And honestly, right now, I just like what books are hot and selling to me is just I'm numb to it. I have no feelings towards it whatsoever, and I felt that way all this week with, of course, understanding the passing of Chadwick Boseman and what that meant to this community. Now, I'm going to say it like this, like. I understand that it's natural to look at the situation of this man's passing and to look at his character that he portrayed in the films. And, I know, it's natural to question, well, what's going to happen? What's going to happen to T'Challa? What's going to happen with Black Panther 2? And I know it's natural to go out and speculate on those types of things. You look at Black Panther 1 and, I think that's more of a maybe a different effect. People going out and buying Black Panther 1. Just because they are impacted by this man's death, who played this character and so forth. And so again, I'm taking this approach to where I'm not pointing fingers at anyone and knocking anyone. But again, I've been in these Facebook groups and I'm seeing it, and I see all the Marvel needs to cast Shuri and pass down the mantle and all this stuff. And who do you think? And I'm seeing all these YouTube videos, and it's just like, every time I see these posts and read these posts or see the thumbnails, I don't I don't give a shit. I can't. First off, for me to think of a Black Panther movie without Chadwick Boseman breaks my goddamn heart. And I know that Marvel's going to need to move on at some point. They're going to have to make these decisions. But this started happening the day of, the day after, and in the first week. And it's like, are you freaking kidding me? How are we even thinking about this stuff? And I know darn well that Shuri book is only out of speculation, thinking that book is going to blow up. And it just breaks my heart. I don't care. I don't care if you can find if I could find the Shuri book for $5 right now, I wouldn't buy it just out of protest. Because it's like, I don't care. I'm not, when I came on my channel and did my live stream, in memory of him, I didn't monetize it. I had 3,000 people watching. And I could have banked off of doing that, but that's not why I did it. I did it because I was mourning, and I knew that there were people out there in the community that was mourning, and I wanted us to have a place to come to and to be together as a community. And when I see these books up there, none of this freaking matters to me right now. Comic books ultimately don't matter to me in terms of specking on value. And to say, oh, shoot, this dude died and somebody's going to have to take his place. It's probably going to be Shuri. Let me go hop on that. Breaks my heart. And like I said, I'm not trying to paint. If you feel differently than me, I'm not here to paint you out to be a monster or to demonize you or anything. But I just can't do it. It breaks my heart.
Yeah, I agree too. I think I like to think that in this top 10, you got Black Panther #1. I like to think that is not spec; it's more of a tribute, because that's a classic character, and one that's just an amazing book with Kirby and just the iconic character, what it meant to be one of the first leading black leading characters in a comic book. That meant a lot. So I like to think that's more of a tribute. But Black Panther, the first appearance of Shuri is just So, and you saw the people. I mean, on my feeds, I saw the people talking about their specking who's going to be the next Black Panther. You saw the articles on certain outlets that are like, "What is Marvel going to do? Here's the top 5 ways that they can go." And it hadn't even been 24 hours since everybody got the news. And we're not here to just kind of get on a soapbox and say what people should do at all. But to be honest, it's a weird top 10. It's a weird top 10.
Yeah, and again, I think it's really how we feel. That's how, as simple as I would put it. I think it's how we feel. We understand that people aren't gonna feel exactly how we feel, and they may think differently, and they may have good intentions and whatnot. But I just couldn't do it. So I'm sorry to all of our viewers that I didn't have it in me to look at these books and have any type of excitement to come in and share that with you. I'm sorry about that, but hey, look, maybe we could take this and try to understand maybe on a deeper level of why we feel that way, and kind of look at it and analyze it in retrospect. And like I said, I know that life goes on, right? I know that the Black Panther legacy has to move beyond Chadwick Boseman. He'll always be the root of it, for sure. But right now, I don't have it in me. I want to focus on being a better person and not caring about if I buy a book right now for $40, how much it's going to be in a year when we get an announcement that Shuri's going to take over. I can't do it. And like Tom said here in the comments, it could be that his untimely passing is just bringing awareness to the character, similar like colon cancer screenings have gone up. And I think that's to your point, Jeff, where you looked at Black Panther 1 being that. It's like I went out and look, I said, I'm coming here today and I'm representing. So what did I do? I went out and bought a shirt, right? And because I want to show my appreciation. So I can see that. But when we look at Black Panther #2, Shuri's first appearance, it's pretty obvious what it is. And like you said, you can't deny the talk, you can't deny the widespread rumor mill of like them hopping right onto this and saying what's going to happen, who's going to be the next Black Panther, and what book is going to get hot. And that just, I just can't go there. And on all these posts that I see online, I'll comment. I'll say, I get it, but for me, none of this matters right now. It doesn't matter. I cannot think of if a Black Panther 2 was announced, if we woke up tomorrow and Marvel Studios made a huge announcement about Black Panther 2, I don't even want to hear it. I don't even want to hear it. I can't.
I think they have enough. I think they have enough sense to just let things kind of breathe at this point.
Oh yeah,
that's what needs to happen. Like,
yep.
He was an integral member of that community, being right. The Marvel creatives, right? Yep. He was an important member of that. Everybody's still mourning. You're seeing all of these residual kind of reactions to what's happened. So anyways, we don't want to get too deep in this. We've had a fun show tonight. But again, we wanted to address this. Like, it's just, and especially the speculation going on after, a human being passed away. So just kind of doesn't fit. Those two things don't fit in our opinion. So
I do want to say that Marvel did make Marvel Studios specifically did make a public statement saying that they will not be dealing with Black Panther 2 and what's basically that they're saying it is not time for that, and we have to mourn, and there will be the time, but right now is not the time, and we have they're not rushing into trying to figure out anything right now. So they did say that publicly. I appreciate them coming out and saying that. I think it sets the tone, rightfully so.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyways, we got a lot of side conversations going on in the comments here that I'm not sure we can get into. Because we've been doing this show and you guys have been doing your own show, kind of. I'm going to be scrolling through here. I don't know, Chris, if you want to comment on any previous comment you did see. We got to get a moderator, guys. This is this. But we wanted to thank you all for joining us tonight. Tom Tormey actually was with us last week, and he was with us live when we did find out about that news. And it would be nice to for you guys to check out his interview. Amazing interview, amazing comic book historian. It's in our channel. Go to our channel. You'll check out in geeky goodness. So anyway, so that being said, I think we're gonna end tonight's show. And we really appreciate all you guys just showing up to support Matt from Pressable Defects. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You all check out Pressable Defects, and everybody else in that channel, in the channels you must subscribe to, including Chris is here, Captain Journo's Comics and Pop Culture. You all got to check that out as well. Once again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We will be back next Friday with hopefully more juicy nuggets, more news. Chris, do you think we'll see a Mandalorian trailer? Do you think we'll see a trailer this week?
I'm gonna say 2 weeks out. I don't think we'll see one this week. I say we'll probably see one the next week. That's my guess. Okay. Oops. You know what? Kid Collector did. He's like Q&A. You guys haven't given it any Q&A. You guys are talking amongst yourselves, which is great. We love the interaction. We love the community you're building here. But Kid Collector, we will be back next week. So hit us up on the Instagram if you have any questions. We'll address them in the show or whatever. We just appreciate you're here every week. And we hope you had a good dinner because we knew you were a few minutes late. So anyways, on behalf of myself and Chris, thank you all so much for joining us. You guys have a great week, and we will see you back here next week. Thanks again.